Whatever the North Atlantic invasion would not or could not bring with them on the boats, would be arranged or delivered to them quite shortly after the mass or fleet's landing. 7. We are claiming a well-organized kind of military Genie international organization with Eurasia sandwiched and turned over by at least two fronts, an Austronesian or Pacific front and an Atlantic front. Roughly in the meeting point in the Middle East. Mesopotamia, Tigris and Euphrates, fertile Crescent. The Transoceanic Invaders culminated in consensus and evolved to a one-god religion. Bible with flood and the Noah Ark narrative, and form a new global caste or class that will establish a monopolar world at first dominated by religion. Crusades and later conquests, and later by a Darwinism-based consensus. Post-World War, United Nations, recent tensions with multiple other poles. 8. Once again a perfect storm seems to be folding involving once more DNA degeneration, climate challenges and breakthrough of diseases with also AMR looming. However, this time we are with 8 billion humans and have no frontier left, which exploration would not pose real risk to lead to acute extinction and will need to go straight to the solution of carbon recycling in soils and use renewable carbon agroforest products and renewable oil substitutes, our Amazon Amrand ancestors once were brilliant at. 9. North Atlantic invasion with R Descendants are the latest and most primitive class or caste. Less developed because this caste would need first to conquer and organize continent-scaled areas recently made free of ice or rather effectively make them free of ice in a global climate-destructive way. Younger Dryas Boundary and consequential ocean level rising or flood will dominate and conquer backwards to where it came from in the first place, including back to the Americas. After American climate destruction and disease left the Americas vulnerable for destructive conquest for the first time. 10. We claim that, during the North Atlantic invasion and population turnover with R Descendants, possibly more domesticated horses, were to be brought to the Atlantic Facades, because domesticated horses probably were delivered to or traded with the newly arriving possibly at arrival and possibly directly by the Yamnaya etc., which had brought over domesticated horses already before, which they had large numbers and herds because of intense breeding on the steppes. Yamnaya together with Sintashta, Buatai, etc. 11. We claim that as early as 56,800 years ago the same North Atlantic route would deliver early modern humans. Related to Luzia and Clovis people, or anatomically modern Homo sapiens, AMH. These would settle in Europe and Eurasia. 12. There is a chance that extensive rows of menhirs on the Atlantic Facades, as for instance in Portal Carnac France, were to signal, fires and smoke, and organize with menhirs or standing stones from the ocean incoming troops, or maybe even to encounter their dedicated legions or representatives, life support and or horses. 13. We claim that these boats, sails, birds, constellations, fleets, waves, axes, or plow and plans of organizations are depicted on some of the on-site menhirs and tumulus, all involving standing stones, megalithic sites in the seaside town of Locmariaquer, with an intriguing cluster of different megalithic structures including the Tumulus of Locmariaquer, Tumulus of Er-Grah. 14. Possibly the population turnovers had more strategy behind them than consensus thinks of today, and also had more of a caste or class system, instead of violent genocides by the newly arriving, with voluntary exodus of the caste or class of farmers that went further ahead to other less strategic regions and consequently disappeared from further genetics. David Rye, 2021. In the locations where the newcomers arrived and form and defend their Atlantic facade bases before starting the population turnover events further ahead, south and landinwards. It would be our pleasure and an honor to better justify our comment directly with David Rye and or Dwarkesh Patel. In the meantime, viewers of the Dwarkesh Patel channel and of David Rye related channels could have a look at to both related videos of our Origin for Existence channel. Origin for Existence also means the Amerindian founder and ancestor trees that also hold the knowledge and experience of carbon recycling in carbon agroforests, which is essential in the action plan to solve all our challenges to existence, including the already present climate challenges. With also 120-meter ocean level rising with consequential floodings of some of the most advanced port cities and river deltas and watersheds like Solland and or Sunderland, or also called flood or diluvian, since, and possibly caused or exacerbated during the Younger Dryas, roughly 5 to 7,000 years earlier. When also the region above Mesopotamia still was more primitive or rather less developed, possibly affected by the consequences of the destruction, ocean level rising, extinctions, and the evident possible setback, or rather what had caused them, and possibly also the later Late Bronze Age collapse as well as the earlier Australasian collapse. 15. A. Aryans were descendants from a late Austronesian expansion, Indian Ocean, that also lands in the Indus River Delta, Pakistan, and work upwards the Indus River and Valley, Pakistan and India, while B. Corded Ware and Beaker landing on the northern Atlantic Facades, including Carnac, France, and Stonehenge, United Kingdom, David Reich, 2021, both being ocean sea and current gyre bound, and both coming from the YHPR roots in the Americas. YHPR roots being mutations hybrid descendants of YHPQ and or YHPC. Both with a higher Neanderthal fraction portion, with the North Atlantic fleet waves being more direct, but with the late Austronesian expansions, B, making a much larger detour. Pacific Ocean, within between cradles pools, with a higher Denisovan fraction portion, possibly also in Seoul, Australia. As ancestor, obviously, the Americas present both an earlier and still higher Denisovan and Neanderthal fraction portion. Haplotype B006 next to the human ancestor Amerindian. 16. These all look to represent ongoing patterns and processes that could be at least partly cyclical and disruptive and possibly related to DNA collapses. By instability and damage further self-inflicting rapid random and destructive and disease-causing mutations, and consequential diseases and epidemics, that we have to keep an eye on, and that we humans need to prevent for life expectancy and existence not to deteriorate, and to prevail as much and as long as possible, by means of ancient ancestor knowledge. Around and by the carbon recycling agroforest and smart grid-based safe haven model action plan. Thank you.